But thank you, folks, for joining. I already see people joining, which is
Hi,
awesome.
folks.
It's really
Well,
nice. I have to say, like, this is the best.
you have a
The
good
people who join here
community.
are the best. They're great. They're really great. It like makes this so much easier. It makes you feel like you actually they're a crew that you can like talk plainly to, which
Yeah.
is nice, right? Like everyone is invested in the same way. Like you don't need to beat around the bush. Like you can really just say it like it is, which is necessary right now.
And
Like
I
who
shouldn't
has
say
time to
your
fucking
people
waste?
because a lot of our
It's all,
people
yeah.
follow you. And the last time I did this, I got so many messages and texts
Did
from
you?
friends, Reproductive Freedom for All members, board members, donors
That's
saying, "Oh my
awesome.
gosh, I saw you on Valenti. It was super fun. I'm so glad you did it."
Oh,
Also, they
I'm so
felt
happy.
really like it was good mutual like validation.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're
Yeah.
all in this fight together and it's great to
Yeah.
see that happening in
No,
real time.
it's necessary. And then sometimes I think, I mean, I'm jealous of you because you get to work in, with people for the most part and in an office. And I'm starting to work with people too, but we don't have an office. We don't have that sort of space. It's like just to have
You can
conversations
always
with
come to
people.
DC and hang out in our office.
I'm
I'm
ready.
sure you are a big favorite of the staff here. Actually, I've
Very
got an
nice.
idea. I'm going to follow up with you
Yeah.
offline about something
Yeah.
that we should have you do
Yeah.
with our team in person because
Anytime.
folks need that.
We need in-person connection and we need like even this feels more in person to me, right? Like
Yeah.
it's digital but it still feels in
Yeah.
person somehow. It still feels
Yeah.
like a conversation. It's just so I was actually just listening to I've read Cecile Richards' last book before, but I decided to listen to it, which is like
Oh,
wonderful but also is killing me slowly because just to hear her voice again is like really like sorry, it's like wonderful, but also so brutalizing. But it really has been reminding me, like every other page, she's just like mentioning someone else, right? Like meeting this person, talking to that person, and of course you're mentioned in the book, and you're like, right, like she had this incredible community of people around her, and that's how you get through this, and that's how you do this is
yeah.
with each other.
I'm so glad you mentioned it because I have been thinking about her so much.
Yeah,
And I have the book like on my nightstand, but I had not thought about listening to it.
do it,
Now that you said that, I'm gonna download it and
do
like
it.
have it handy
Yeah.
to listen to.
Yeah,
Um
it's pretty wonderful. It's like hearing her voice again and like you can hear her smile as she's narrating, which you're just like, it's like we need her so badly in this moment. And I think like listening to some of her advice for me
yeah,
has
I
been
don't
really helpful.
I can't I miss her so much.
Yeah.
This is
You guys knew each other a long time. Yeah. How
Yeah,
did you start?
I was her my career started at Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast, which actually just shut down.
Right.
So,
Right.
which is the Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast is the affiliate that covered Houston, Southeast Texas, and Louisiana.
Yeah.
Because of the Medicaid cuts, it was sort of the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Um, there's 4 health centers that are surviving in the Houston area, in the suburbs that Planned Parenthood Greater Texas, which is Dallas and
Right.
Austin, has absorbed.
Right.
But the building that we helped build and that we helped, like, that was like the big project of my team. We used to call it
Yeah.
Prevention Park. The antis called it the largest abortuarium in the Northern Hemisphere. And I used to have a clip of that on my bulletin board. I was so proud of it.
I love it.
Because by square footage, it was the largest abortion clinic in the Northern Hemisphere. And
Nice.
damn proud, damn straight.
Yeah.
Everything's bigger in Texas, including the abortuariums or whatever the hell they called it. But I say all that to say that's when I met Cecile.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to work for her for a year, running her office, her executive office. And it was like
Yeah.
a master class. In this job now, I look back on it and I'm like, I kind of learned a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
like the fundraising, watching her do every piece of this job. Obviously, running PPFA, I mean, bless Alexis, it's a much bigger job than this because it's healthcare. It's not just advocacy,
Yeah.
it's literally brick and mortar. Um, but watching Cecilia was a masterclass, and I learned so much about how to talk about the work, how to show up for your staff, how to
Mhm.
build coalition, how to navigate crises. That was I was there when the Susan G. Komen stuff happened,
I was
and the
just listening to that chapter.
and the
The Susan,
2012
yeah,
reelection of Barack Obama. So it was like, wow. So, going into 2024, I thought of, so many lessons.
right. Oh
Um,
my God.
and when I took this job, the last thing I'll say, because we have so many things to talk about. We could
Yeah,
do a
really.
whole episode just on Cecile Richards. When
Truly.
I took this job, she was one of the first people to call me and be like, I'm so grateful you did this. What do you need? And I was
That's
like,
awesome.
I need everything because I have
Yeah,
no idea what I'm doing.
I
And
love
she
that.
picked up the phone, was my validator, was my cheerleader, my coach. I used to have just
That's
weekly
awesome.
check-ins just to shoot the shit with her
Yeah,
and ask her any question. Nothing was off the table.
that's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, I was very lucky. I am very lucky, and her amazing family have all been incredibly helpful, are still involved with so many of us in our orgs. Lauren
I love
Peterson, the
that.
amazing Lauren
Ugh,
Peterson, is been such a huge supporter and help for me.
yeah,
So, our alumni network is vast and large, and we are also
it
supporting
is
each other.
strong.
And
It is
she
strong.
she did that. She created that.
It's so cool. It's so
Yeah.
cool. For folks who don't know, I am assuming that most people follow Abortion in America, but that was the organization that Cecile started before she passed. If you don't follow it, you should. It's awesome. Like focuses on abortion storytellers and supporting abortion storytellers. Couldn't be more important, especially right now. So make sure to go and check it out.
And I'll
Um,
do a quick plug.
yeah,
We are launching our new podcast next week. I will be reaching out to you about that. And we are
yeah.
doing a lot of the content in partnership with Abortion in America. So, I'll be
Oh,
doing
very
a lot of
cool.
Q&A and like discussions like this, but we
Yeah,
also want to be using the platform
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to take a lot of that really beautiful curated work that Abortion in America has done and find other ways to promote it on YouTube, on the podcast.
Yeah,
So we're really excited and it's shaping up really nicely.
it's
And
very cool.
it's so important just to get those stories out as much as
Yeah.
possible in as many ways as possible.
I'm excited. I can't wait to listen. You'll have to let us know when the
Yeah.
inaugural episode is up.
I think
We'll
it's
put it in the
Monday.
newsletter.
I think it's
Is it
October.
Monday?
Yeah, I'll make sure we send you the links.
Yeah,
But
remind me.
it's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts now. You can find it and follow it. Right now it's
Amazing.
called My Body, My Pod. Uh,
Great name. Love it. Love
a
it. My body,
reproductive
my
freedom
pod.
podcast.
Great. Um, so we have so much to talk about. I was trying to think about where to like
Sorry.
hone into, but literally, so folks who are watching, I literally just walked in the door like 10 minutes before this live started. I was driving from upstate New York, and as I walked in the door, Minnie's like, "Oh, have you seen this?" I'm like, "What is this?" So
I
apparently,
can't
like
believe
the
I'm breaking news to Jessica Valenti. I am like
what?
so
Yeah,
proud.
what the fuck? What in the world? So apparently, the FDA has approved a generic form of mifepristone. Um, Anti-abortion activists are not very happy about this. They see this as sort of like a betrayal of all of this work that they just did to get the FDA and the HHS to do this review that they're doing of mifepristone. But correct me if I'm wrong. Like I really just did like the
Yeah, yeah,
briefest
same.
glance, at this. But like my understanding is they sort of had to approve it because
Yes.
mifepristone's already approved. So because it's so long as they can prove that it's the exact same thing as
Identical.
mifepristone, just it's identical, that they just have to approve it. There's not really like politics involved in it.
Not at
It's
all.
just okay.
In fact, well, so that's funny because we're in this really weird situation, right? We don't want to
Yeah,
give this FDA and Martin McCary credit. Like, I'm sure this is another
right.
example of the Trump administration
Interesting. Yeah.
trying to have it both ways, right? Oh yeah, on
Yeah.
one hand we're logical and we're rational and we're doing the right thing. On the other hand, like let's keep this as quiet as possible because we don't want to piss off our base. It is basically
Right.
an impossible situation. They will continue to be scrutinized and vilified as they should be by our movement and by anyone with any
Yeah.
sanity. And they will also tick off their base because they don't believe in science. They don't believe in government. So the FDA's approval was this is an identical medication. The FDA approval process is if mifepristone's approved and this generic is identical,
Right.
it theoretically, it systemically, it has to be approved. That
Right.
is the rule.
Right.
And so it's not even that anyone at the FDA, the career civil servants at the FDA are doing their jobs. This is how the FDA is supposed to work. This is an example of government functioning.
Yeah.
And thank God, because it's not functioning much anymore with the shutdown.
Yeah.
And it's really incredible to me that the antis are so they've made this a story.
Right.
This is a story because it's breaking news because
Right.
of them,
Because
because
they're
they
pissed. Yeah.
because they have no strategic sense. So it's like
Mm,
they're just trying to push for everything that they want, understanding that they've actually won quite a bit
yeah.
and they don't
Yeah.
know when to stop. And it will honestly, at the end of the day, be the biggest problem for this administration.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What do
I
you, I
mean, I'm
was
not
going to
saying this
ask, like,
administration is well intentioned when it comes to abortion rights, but I do think Donald Trump and his inner circle understand very clearly that
yeah, that
abortion
it's a
was
loser.
the reason that they almost lost to Kamala Harris in
Yeah.
127 days,
Yeah.
right? In
No, I
27
think
days,
that's
not
right.
127 days, but in 27 days. That
Yeah.
they know that it's the thing that shrunk their advantage, and they are not trying to do this.
Right. Well, and that's what I was curious to ask you about the Mifepristone
Yeah,
review and this like study that they're conducting. So for folks who don't know, you probably know this. You know, the FDA and the HHS said we're going to do our review of we're going to
right.
conduct our own study because we're very worried about the safety of Mifepristone, and they cited like the junk science study that like I've been warning about, that everyone's been warning about from the EPPC, that is just total nonsense. My question is, how much do you think this is like their next strategic move to get closer to restrict mifepristone and have this sort of like bullshit excuse that, oh, it's unsafe and we did a study and therefore we're going to roll back approval, versus is it possible that they are just trying to throw a bone to the anti-abortion movement who has been bugging the shit out of them for months about this, to do something, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do a study, because I've heard like different people are feeling different ways about it, because obviously, because the Trump administration knows this is such a loser for them, they haven't enforced Comstock, they haven't done anything that's like big or splashy. My fear or instinct or worry is that like, well, yeah, they haven't done anything big or splashy, but this is not big or splashy. This they've been like sort of working up towards for months, and they can say, oh no, look, we did this study, we did this review, we're not banning it, we're just banning telehealth, right? Like if they were going to do something to mifepristone, like this would be the way to do it. So I'm curious how
Yes,
you all are
yes.
thinking about it.
So there's a couple things. Like, so one, I'll say the big and splashy shit Trump's doing is the stuff that he knows is really red meat for his base. You know,
Yeah,
it's like sending National Guard to like blue
yeah,
cities. It's demonizing immigrants. Not popular, by the way. Not winning him any independence or
yeah,
swing voters that he needed to win the last time, but totally like the kind of thing his base eats up. It's important
yeah,
to understand that the MAGA base is actually still mostly with us on abortion, and that the Susan B. Anthony list
yeah,
of the world, the Students for Life, that whole
yeah,
cabal, they are not OG MAGA base, right?
yeah,
You have to remember that. And like they are very, very powerful as an interest group and a specialty group. And they have a dark money network of donors who are very influential. And right now, Josh Hawley is the one who's leading their charge. And Josh
yeah,
Hawley is the connector between all of these different things. So going
right,
to the fake study, I think it's theoretically possible that they're just throwing a bone to the to the extremist antis
yeah,
through this FDA piece. But the FDA process is actually the least scary of all of the
mm,
options for them to
yeah,
ban mifepristone. This case that Matthew Kaczmarek has had in his court that he just
yeah,
basically kicked over to Missouri is the most feasible way that they can ban abortion nationwide by
right,
restricting mifepristone. It is
right,
the Texas court was shitty. The Missouri court's going to be crappy. Like Josh Hawley himself is the person who has put a lot of those folks on that court. There are two more extremist anti-abortion folks connected to this whole situation that were litigating the opposition to the Missouri ballot measure.
yes,
It's pretty wild if you do the conspiracy chart, like of all the connections to Missouri, especially when you understand that Missourians Republican Missourians, is that
Yeah,
the right word? Missourians
I think so.
voted for abortion
I know.
access in their state. So
I know.
that same study is the basis for the Republican AGs and the Republican states who've intervened in that case against the FDA, and the courts are stacked against us,
Right.
right?
No,
And
I always have that like conspiracy theory. Ever see the Charlie Day Always Sunny
yes,
in Philadelphia meme?
yes,
Where he's just like, that's me every day. I'm like, and this guy and the judge in Missouri is the
yes.
guy who wrote that Mifepristone
Okay,
starves the fetus
don't
to
be mad
death.
if we have that graphic come up in our social very soon, because
Yeah.
literally just 2 days ago, I was talking to our digital team. I was like, use the Charlie Day graph. Like, it's
It's the
not
only
a
one that makes sense.
conspiracy, but like, it's the same stuff, right? So, like, I almost feel like, look, you cannot take anything off the table with this
Sure.
administration. It's
Yeah.
totally possible that they will, restrict, they can very quickly, you know, go after the REMS, and they can very quickly like
Right.
restrict like medication abortion through mail, go back to
Yeah.
the pre-COVID era rules. You have to get a prescription from a doctor from an in-person visit. You have to go to a brick and
Yeah.
mortar like pharmacy. You can't get it in the mail. They could very easily do that and then say,
Yeah.
well, we just did what used to be the case a couple of years ago. So that's
Exactly.
one. But then simultaneous, this case is working its way up to the court. And if you remember, I know you remember, for listeners or
Yeah.
viewers, it went to the Supreme Court and they kicked it back because of standing. So
Yeah.
the fact that the state of Missouri intervened and they've now moved this to a Missouri court, this is Kazmarek and a very smart group of people saying we're not going to get kicked out again because of standing. This is
Right.
the first time we're actually going to hear this case litigated on the merits of the claim that
Ugh.
mifepristone is not safe and shouldn't
And
have
their
been off
merits are like
garbage.
totally off the wall, like, but not just garbage, truly bananas, like truly,
Medically
fully,
inaccurate, made up nonsense.
yeah,
But they learned
and
their
a little
lesson because
creepy.
the HM case was like a bunch of like dentists and other random,
Yeah,
not real practitioners. And it was the
yeah,
fact that it went that far was wild, right? So
yeah,
this time they're doing it the right way, and it's a lot more concerning. So we have to
right,
be looking at all of it. But that's
yeah,
why you folks watching and our members and you, Jessica, we're all so important to this because we made so much damn noise last year
yeah,
around the Mifepristone case, the HM
yeah,
case, and then we made it such a critical issue in the election that they do know that if they take action against Miffy, it's
yeah,
going to blow up in their face, and we will have a mobilization
right,
hook going into 26. And they don't want that. They're scared of
yeah,
that because they already know they're poised to lose the midterms, which is why they're doing this power grab in
right,
Texas,
right,
and why, thank God some of, our folks have finally started fighting back, like Governor Newsom.
right. As you're like literally a question came in as you were saying that, like, what's the most important thing we can be doing right now? Like, if we're making noise again about the Miffy case, like, how are you all thinking about messaging and what resonates with people, right? Because I think for like most people, they're not going to be following like this court and this judge and that judge, right? But for me, some of the things that they're saying in this suit, like, it's straight up weird. Like, it's very weird. It's very creepy, the way that they're talking about like teen girls, teen girls body, like, it's very odd.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm thinking about pushing forward with it, but I'm curious if you all have started to think about like what's the
Yeah.
messaging on this.
So we did, I've talked about it. I think last time we talked about, we did a
Yeah,
lot of exit polls. We did focus groups. We've been trying to figure out how to best break through all this noise coming
yeah,
from the Trump administration to get folks to pay attention to the attacks on reproductive freedom. And it's tough.
yeah,
And it's tough. What happened just now with this quiet approval of the generic drug is also going to make
yeah,
it tough, right? It's hard to pin them, and that's by
right,
design. What was really effective this summer were the Medicaid cuts. And that's again why we're seeing all this shit happening right now with the government shutdown. The
yeah,
Medicaid cuts, the attacks on the ACA, the subsidies right now, and connecting the dots for our members and our activists, for their friends and family. Uh, talking to them through relational organizing, talking to them on social media, sharing content. We are right now on the ground in 4 states with elections right now where we're talking about it: Pennsylvania, California, Virginia, New Jersey. What's breaking through is talking about attacks on healthcare and then
Yeah.
reminding them that they are connected to repro. So,
Right.
for example, the Medicaid defund, Planned Parenthood got defunded through that vehicle, and it went into effect yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Medicaid covers majority of all, like 40%, in some states, the majority, 40%, I think, nationwide of all births.
Yeah.
The majority of prenatal and postpartum care for folks who are on the margins. So it
Yeah.
is a reproductive freedom issue. The ACA subsidies, SBA list yet again, tried to inject abortion into this. I mean, they lost pretty clearly, pretty fast, because even the House Republican caucus knows, like, they don't really want to go there. Um, but this has been what's been helpful in breaking through
Right.
for us, and to show them. And then once we've got folks softened, okay,
Mm.
this administration is doing really bad stuff that's alarming to me, then we can have the conversation about Mifepristone,
Right.
because quite frankly, it feels a little bit far fetched for the average voter.
Sure.
And there's a
Sure.
difference between our activists and the average voter.
Right.
Our activists are getting constant information and training about how to talk about medication abortion. And it's frankly easier to talk about medication abortion than mifepristone,
Right.
right? To your friends and family. This administration, the same administration that's screwing up with your COVID vaccine, that's
Yeah.
messing up all these other regulations, do you trust them to really
Yeah.
protect medication abortion?
Yeah.
These are the types of messages that work. We kind of almost got to lean into the dysfunction, and
Hmm.
the overall lack of confidence Americans have about Trump and the GOP, and then wrap
Right.
around the abortion and repro messaging, because then we had a believability gap. People are
Yeah.
with us on these issues, but they weren't believing that they would be as vulnerable.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what we're trying to address in our organizing, in our ads, in our messaging, and in our work, like on the doors, even
Yeah.
like
Where are
connecting the
you
dots.
where are you asking people when you talk to, like, viewers here, or the folks, not necessarily people who are activists who are, like, regularly involved, but someone who cares about this issue, where are you asking them to have these kinds of conversations, right? Is it like, you're calling your mom, you're doing it on social media, like,
Yeah. So we have a
where do those
relational
happen?
organizing tool called Impactive, and if folks join our organization, we train activists to get involved, and it's like a way for you to share social information with your friends and family and connect.
Right.
You can basically look up friends and family, see where they live, where their voter. I mean, it sounds creepy when I say it like that, but it's basically a relational organizing tool where you're matching your own personal list with the voter
Right.
file, and you're seeing where people are, and then you're getting pushed like on the app and on through the
I love
system, you're
that.
getting pushed information to share. And here's
Yeah.
why we're doing it that way. And you and I talked about this right after the election. Actually, I
Yeah.
think I called you and I was like, Jessica, talk to me about TikTok because I don't understand. And we are losing. We are losing ground.
Yeah.
We cannot rely on mainstream press, even specialty press, to get through to our friends and family. The most effective messenger to your
It's true.
friends and family is you. So whether it's sharing stuff on social, that is one way, but by using tools, relational organizing tools like Impactive, we are able to be a little more scientific about it, right? As opposed to just
Right.
posting. I don't know if your mom or your
I love
sister are
that.
following the right folks on social media, or the
Yeah.
algorithm may be blocking the content I'm posting anyway. But if you're in my text group and I get pushed to say, text this graphic that talks about medication abortion and why it's important and why it's under threat, and take an
Mm.
action to protect it, that's more effective. So then I can text it to my
Yeah.
25 people I've identified as the folks who need information. And I'm constantly like, ask them to share it, ask them to share it. So that's just one strategy that we employ, but it's one
Mhm.
of many. You can also just
But it's
join a
super
text bank,
helpful.
join a phone
Right.
bank. But we're trying everything because there's no one simple, straightforward way anymore to talk to
Right.
voters and talk to people in your lives about these issues.
Yeah. But I think that that is, like, a really helpful prompt, or, like, idea, right? Like, we know with the algorithm, we know that abortion content is being suppressed. You don't know who is seeing what. If you are posting something to Facebook, if you're sharing something on social media, there is a big difference between a message that you see on your timeline and a message that you get in your phone from a friend or from a family member. Like, that is a different level of engagement and conversation. I think that
That's
that's a
right.
really
And
that's a
that's
really
why
big
for
deal.
us, like, even though we're a political action committee and a C4 and a C3, all the legal distinctions, we've always been and we always will be organizing first. And what
Yeah.
does that mean for me? For me, that means like our people are our best asset. So
Hmm.
we want to deploy people to help change hearts and minds, to educate each other and their friends and family, and to encourage and engage people to vote. So that's
Yeah.
more than, I mean, I want to talk about ads in a minute. But that's more than just paid communications. It's also just
Yeah.
basically training everybody to understand that there's something for them to do in this fight.
Right. Right. I mean, let's talk about ads. Let's get into
Yeah.
it. I know you sent me an ad from Virginia. I think we wrote about this in the newsletter this week. An ad in the Virginia gubernatorial race. Do you want to set it up a little
Yeah,
bit?
so, yeah, we were excited to endorse, Abigail Spanberger early on in her race for governor of Virginia. I think everyone who reads your newsletter understands why Virginia is so important. As a reminder, it is not a slam dunk. Glenn Youngkin is the current governor, and he's a complete and total nightmare for
Mm,
reproductive health, but also for so many things we care about, like equity and democracy overall. So Abigail is a former member of Congress, I mean, current member of Congress. She's amazing.
mm,
She's a huge champion. She gets it, and her opponent is a complete nightmare. Her name is Winsome Earl Sears. She is a true anti in every
yeah.
sense of the word. She supports a national abortion ban without exceptions for rape and
Yeah.
incest. And I know that's not our favorite way of talking about this,
Yeah.
but it does make the point very, very
It's
clear that
demonstrative. Yeah.
it's demonstrative of something, like, you're not even trying to be rational.
Yeah.
You're not even trying to be, empathetic in
Totally.
any way. It shows that you're kind of a monster and that it's unacceptable for Virginians, and you're completely out of touch with Virginians. So, they put up their first ad, I think in the last 24 hours, going after, Earl Sears on abortion, and it's really powerful and effective. And
Yeah.
I'll make sure I get it to you first. We'll be going up on the air with our own ads as well. I mean, on
Oh,
digital,
great.
on platforms, in support of Abigail as well. We know that this is a driving contrast issue for Virginians. That they understand it's a deal breaker for them to elect anyone who's not going to protect abortion rights. And just to underscore, Virginia, because of its geographic placement in this country and because of the abortion bans all throughout the South, Virginia is so incredibly
Yeah.
important for access and
Yeah.
having a governor. And I'll also say we've got ads coming out for the Attorney General candidate, Jay Jones,
Mm,
having a governor and an AG who can
yeah.
protect abortion rights and a
Yeah.
legislature
Big deal.
is
Yeah.
so huge. And this would be a big, big win for not only democracy and just humanity, it would be a big win for our movement. And here's why that's important. As we go into 26, and you and I were texting a little bit about our good
Yeah.
friend Ezra Klein and his analysis, we gotta actually show, not just tell, right? We've gotta keep
Yeah.
showing that it's a winning issue, that we're winning elections on abortion, that we're
Yeah.
disqualifying Republicans in red and purple states like Virginia on abortion. This is so important. We obviously have to protect Virginia, but we also have to show political muscle, and this is partially how we do it.
Right. Do you think that Virginia Republicans are gonna lean as hard on abortion this time? I mean, because they like followed Susan B. Anthony Pro Life America's
The
playbook.
15
They followed
week,
their advice. They're like, it's not a ban messaging. Like they like went whole hog. They went for it
they got slammed.
and they got slammed. And so do you
Yes.
think that, and I know Susan B. Anthony is like there again spending all their money and you know
Spend it
for
all. Spend it
I know it's
all.
like go. How much do you think Republicans are gonna listen to their advice again this time around?
I think in Virginia so far, we're not seeing a ton.
Yeah,
We're not seeing a ton. I think that they are definitely in a bit of a crisis. I mean, the
yeah,
Republicans in office in Virginia, make no mistake, are pretty extreme.
yeah,
But I think they're not lacking pragmatism. And I
yeah,
think they did learn a couple of lessons last time.
yeah,
But I think the person on the top of their ticket, however, did not. And while she's backed off of talking about this issue lately, uh, it's too late. She's been
right.
talking about it.
She's
She
already
spent
been
so much
yeah,
of the first part of the campaign talking about it. I want to give a shout out in Virginia to the majority leader in the legislature in
Mm,
House, Don Scott. Don Scott had so much. Remember the last time this came up in 22, no, in
mm,
23, the
yeah,
15-week ban that Youngkin tried to
yeah.
push. The Democrats did not have a top of the ticket candidate. It was just the legislature that was running. Don Scott led the charge for the House,
Hmm.
the legislative chamber. Um, and he imposed incredibly strict, brilliant message discipline on his caucus about the 15-week ban. And it
That's
was
great.
just incredible to watch. And, we spent a lot of time complaining about Democrats. I want to give credit to him.
Yeah,
But it was a lesson. After that, we were able to take those ads, take that messaging, and
right.
take it to other states and say, this is actually how we
Yeah, that's
shut
how you do it.
down talk of a 15-week ban. Because if that had been allowed to succeed, that would have been the template a whole bunch of, like, moderate Democrats would have pursued as a compromise. But thank you, Don. Thank you, Virginia
Yeah,
Democrats, for shutting it down and being like, a ban. The message was a ban is a ban, full stop.
yeah.
Don't say
Period.
anything else. Period. It's a ban.
Period.
Voters don't want bans. 15
No,
week, 24 week, it's a ban. We don't want it, full stop. And
exactly.
it worked. People don't want it. People
Exactly.
don't like bans.
Let's actually talk a little bit about like the moderate, the moderate position on abortion and this conversation that, started with Ezra Klein saying that Democrats should be running pro-life candidates. And, not to beat a dead horse, I like did a column about this and people have been talking about it a lot, but I do think that there's a reason that it got, um, such an intense backlash because I think that what he was saying is sort of demonstrative of stuff we've heard from pundits and men on the left and Democrats in general in the past. This idea that we need to be messaging towards the middle, reaching the center, having this big tent. And of course, it's so frustrating for people like you and me because we know that abortion is such a winning issue, and it is frustrating not just on a political level and but also a moral level. Like you don't just throw uh, the humanity of half the population under the bus. But why do you think that this like really triggered is not the right word, but it really did spark something in people. These
I mean,
these
I was
comments
triggered.
really piss. You're like, I was a little triggered. It was a little triggered. Yeah, it was. Stacey said it made me so angry. I was really
Yeah,
angry.
same,
I was actually. I've
same.
known Ezra a long time, and when I first made a video about it, I was like, I don't think it's coming from a bad place, but I think that this is not great. It was when he like doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on it that I was like, come on, man. Like, okay, let's just like you were wrong. Like, let's be
So
wrong
I
and
actually
move on.
don't know him at all. I've never met him. He's not. But I've always respected him. I thought I've always had a lot of appreciation. And look, full disclosure, I've worked with one of my first jobs at Congress was for a blue dog Democrat in Texas. I worked for New Dems.
Hmm.
I've worked with a lot of the centrist and mods in Congress. I actually think it's been helpful because I'm able to then go to them and say, let's talk about how this is not a liberal
Yeah,
lefty issue. This is actually an
yeah,
issue you can take to your
yeah,
Republican constituents. And that was my essential pushback immediately was this is not how we expand the tent. We expand the tent by taking issues like abortion that are actually
exactly.
popular with Republicans and independents, and we expand our base. We
Yeah,
don't. We got to flip the whole paradigm. Like you're thinking about it all wrong.
yeah,
But why you asked me a different question. Why does this keep happening? I mean, I
mm,
had so many thoughts. I mean, one is that this whole enterprise of being like pro reproductive freedom and abortion
mm,
being the issue is a winning issue,
yeah,
literally more popular as an issue than any other issue for Democrats. Better brand identification than Democrats, more popular than any
mm,
politician, Democrat or Republican. This
right,
is new for these Democrats. And our
right.
party is still dominated by a lot of voices that are still stuck. It's only been like in the last two electoral cycles that
Hmm.
we've seen abortion be the driver for wins. And in 24, I mean, this is my take on 24. I feel like I've said it to you before, and I'll say it again because it bears
Yeah,
repeating. We didn't lose. Abortion isn't what lost. Abortion won. Abortion won
yeah,
more. in more places than Democrats. Abortion won statewide in 7 out of 10 states, 8 if you include Florida, which I think we should because it was 57%.
57%.
Abortion won in tough places.
100%.
Abortion helped down ballot Democrats win in tough places like Ruben
Yeah.
Gallego, like Tammy Baldwin, like Jackie Rosen. Abortion's not the reason Kamala Harris lost. Kamala Harris closed that
Yep.
gap in those last days with Trump
Hmm.
on abortion. So it's
Right.
not abortion's fault. It's not
Yeah.
shifting wins on abortion, but it's so new. And
Mm.
I really do believe there's a section of the party that's like, well, we didn't win everything on abortion, so let's move away from abortion.
Right.
They keep tagging it, and Ezra shouldn't have doubled down on it. He got repudiated very quickly by a lot of smart people across the political spectrum
Yeah.
because the 3 states he cited were states where we won ballot measures. So
Exactly.
objectively, it doesn't even make any damn sense. But I really think there's a gap in understanding voter attitudes on this issue,
Hmm.
the turnout universe, targeting.
Mm.
So I've actually, my team and I will come back to you soon. We're going to start
Yeah.
working on post November, this election, taking all the data from the last few cycles and showing it. Let's just show you
Mm.
the math. Some of you guys and gals only listen to the science and the data. That's good.
Sure.
Don't like, we got to show it to you because we've had multiple cycles now where we can show you,
Hmm.
starting in Kansas post Dobbs, we never would have won that ballot measure in Kansas if Republicans hadn't crossed over. So it's
Right.
not a deal breaker for Republicans, and it is a deal breaker for Democrats. That's important.
Right. Right.
You win on abortion, and you can't win without abortion. That
Right.
has to be what people understand. You're not going to win only on abortion. You have to have
For sure.
sensible policies. You have to respond to your constituents', concerns. But then you also, the abortion is the plus. The abortion thing is going to close the gap.
Right. I hope that people take that data and believe it. I am like so I
We gotta keep
I've
plowing away. It's not like people who
right.
look like you and me who are making these calls, by the way. That's part of the other problem. But
Yeah, I'm feeling like very, very jaded with the way that like you really can show people, you can show them the numbers, you can show them the data, you can show them the facts. And I think for a lot of folks, like, and a lot of men on the left, it is just ingrained in their head that this is a controversial issue. They
that's right.
haven't been able to get away from it. It's like they can't be convinced. And like my obsession with both sides media and like the media coverage of this, and I think that that is such a huge part that I'm like where can we make inroads with this so that there are headlines that actually reflect the reality of where the country is with this issue. Um, yeah.
I think there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, to your point, I agree and relate to your cynicism. We've got the data, we've got the research. I
Yeah.
think the challenge is we've got it's not even like polling. We've got
Yeah.
actual turnout. We've got
Yeah.
actual numbers. We've got ballot measures that were just about abortion where Republicans crossed over and voted for an issue that's supposedly a Democratic issue, right? It takes time to change culture, and our culture is very the democratic institutions, and I mean capital D democratic, not
Yeah.
lowercase, are
Yeah.
very much dominated by, white men who don't understand it.
Yeah.
I'm not demonizing white men. There's also a lot of really great white men who do understand it, but they're not the ones in charge.
Mm.
And the good news is this, and hopefully this will give you a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
Every single candidate I'm talking to right now, because we endorse and we support
Yeah.
and we give resources to candidates who are running right now in 25 and in 26,
Yeah.
has told me this debate is a non-debate for me.
Right.
Abortion is coming up in the top 3 issues in my race. I'm seeking
Mm.
your endorsement because I need that support. I need your
Yeah.
messaging. I need your research. I have to have abortion as part of my like core campaign message or I will not win. So actual people who are running
Yeah. Yeah.
understand it. It's
That's great.
pundits who are sitting on the sidelines, who are trying to prognosticate about
Yeah.
what's wrong with the Democratic Party. And we're doing a ton of unhelpful navel gazing right now. I'm
Mm.
not about the navel gazing. I'm about getting out and doing the work. And the people who are running and doing the work, they get it. So
That
I
does
hope
that
that
does
gives you
give me
some.
hope. It
Mhm.
does. It does. I love to hear that. I think that that's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing like how Democrats and candidates talk about it this time around and for the next couple of years, right? Like
Yeah.
it is interesting to see how it went from being this like third rail issue from, safe, legal, and rare. Like it feels like we're moving in the right direction, but like I really am so ready for just like zero government interference, please. Like let's just enough. Like no government interference.
Same. That is the whole game. I see a question I'm just seeing from Christina. Are we in the New
Yeah.
Jersey governor's race? Yes. That is gonna be tighter than people understand. We've
Mm,
endorsed Mikey Sherrill. She's amazing. She is a true reproductive freedom champion. She's talking about this issue. It's a clear contrast with her opponent. And there's a lot going on in New Jersey. The difference is this is very like insider boring, but the New Jersey
never.
campaign finance rules and the Virginia campaign finance rules are so different. Virginia is
Yeah.
like you can talk to everybody. We can work directly with the campaign. New Jersey has much more strict rules. So we've been able to
Right.
directly coordinate a lot of activity in Virginia, but we have volunteers and organizers, and we'll be putting up ads in New Jersey as well. And then in Penn, just while I have 2 to 25 on my
Yeah.
brain, in Pennsylvania, we have a state Supreme Court race. We have to retain three
Right.
judges who are
Yep.
on our side. And we all know now how important Supreme Courts are, state Supreme Courts. So that's a really critical thing that we're doing. We did a joint endorsement with Planned Parenthood, and I'll be going up there and doing stuff with them on the ground in the state. And in California, as far as I'm concerned, that redistricting ballot measure is an abortion ballot measure. We are
Mm,
also doing activities with Planned Parenthood on the ground. The number
yeah.
one billionaire opponent of the ballot measure is a funder of anti-abortion activities and crisis pregnancy centers in
Oh.
California. Yeah. So
Will you
that's
send me info
yeah,
on
I'm
that?
gonna send you
That's
more on
yeah.
that. We're gonna
Yeah,
send you some more
please.
info on that. That's a fascinating one, but also why do Mike Johnson and his cabal want to redistrict? Why do they want to steal seats from Texas? Why do they want this? They want it to get a permanent majority in the House that can pass a national
Hmm.
abortion ban. Full stop.
Exactly.
So this is an exciting opportunity for Californians to actually
Right.
be in the driver's seat and do something to fight back for their state, but for the whole country. We have just under 500,000 members in California, and they are fired up. And it's been super fun to watch them get
Love it.
activated and getting organized because I think
Nice.
they've been waiting to like have a national impact in California.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I can't wait for you to send me more. I want to make sure that we have time for people to ask
Yeah.
questions. Folks, if you want to start like populating the chat with questions, please do. But before we go there, I just want to make sure we talk for a couple of seconds about South Carolina and everything
Yes.
that was going on yesterday with SB 323, which I'm sure folks have been following, but it is a total nightmare. Very, very, all abortion bans are extreme, but it is, as I've been writing and saying on TikTok, it is like the blueprint. It is the extremist blueprint for what they want for all of us. It's abortion ban on certain forms of birth control, attack on free speech, on pro-choice websites, on abortion referrals, the criminalization piece. It's just a wild bill. And what was heartening yesterday was watching how many people lined up to give testimony, watching the incredible just response from pro-choicers and women in the state who were just not having it at all. It was just amazing. Um, but what I always find so difficult about bills like this when I am talking about them or writing about them is that they are so extreme that people almost don't believe me that anything is going to happen. Right? They're like, well, it's not going to go, like they're not going to do that. They're not going to send women to jail for abortions. They're not going to criminalize it. It's too extreme. I'm like, hello, guess
They've
what?
already
Already
done it.
happened.
It's already
They've already
happened.
done it. But you know what I'm saying? Like people think, and I think that this is also accounts for a lack of like national media coverage, right? Like, where's the national media coverage of the fact that South Carolina Republicans are seriously considering a bill that could give abortion patients the death penalty? Where are the big mainstream national articles on that? I do think it's because there is this assumption that the bill's not going to go anywhere, or that it will be so watered down that people don't need to worry about it. And so I'm just wondering how you all um, think about, state legislation like that and how we
Yeah,
should be talking about it.
yeah. We've been doing social on it and press on it, but you're right, it's not breaking through. I think you're
Yeah.
100%, your diagnosis is 100% right, that it feels so extreme. I mean, I'm from Texas, and I think Texas is a perfect example of actually this stuff can pass.
Yeah.
It's not unrealistic. Um, and it can have disastrous ramifications for the rest of the country. So
Right.
I think, Tennessee is a good example with the IVF bill, right? Like,
Hmm.
the IVF Supreme Court case, I should say, not bill. Like,
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
certain things pop, the national sort of political, pundits and the press are like, oh my God, we didn't see
Yeah.
this coming. And we're all like, we've seen
Yeah.
this coming for 25 years. We
Yeah.
said this was going to happen post Dobbs. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but we kind of have to be constantly in wait. And this is another thing, like, it's not believable until it happens. So
Right.
it feels like shouting into a void. Like, my team's like, do we send out a press release about South Carolina? It feels like we're just
Right.
sending missives into the world. But you
Yeah.
do, because we have to be building the constant case. It's like you've got to be building the ship for when, like, the
Yeah.
wind hits the sails. You got to keep educating and talking about it, which you do so brilliantly, Jessica, much to the
Thank you.
detriment of your sanity and your, your sleep, because it's horrible to have to constantly talk about this. But if you
Yeah.
don't keep talking about it, they get to do this stuff in the dead of night, and people don't believe
Right.
it's happening when it's really happening right now. And that is sort of the
Right.
story of our entire movement. Like, we've been the boy who cried wolf about Roe for the entire existence of my organization's, like, existence, 55 plus years, my entire life. I'm 52, and it happened. And everyone was like, it's unbelievable. Not really. It's completely believable. There's been entire books written, including by you, about how it happened.
Yeah.
So we've got to just keep telling the stories and bearing witness.
It's
And
so,
thank you
I
to
mean,
all the
that's what's
wonderful
so,
people in South
yes,
Carolina who did that.
truly. It is so truly exhausting to watch it happen again, where it's like we spent all those years saying they're coming for Roe. Roe's gonna be gone. Hello. You're hysterical. I mean, literally, I remember people using the word hysterical. Literally. And then it
Yeah.
happened. And now it's like we're saying the same thing about birth control. We're saying the same thing about restrictions on travel. And it really is this sort of, it's very frustrating. And I know I hear from a lot of readers who are similarly really frustrated. But I think that you're right, that it is just that banging of the drum, and some people are listening. And hopefully now that Roe was overturned, people will understand that anything is possible, that all of it is possible.
All of it is possible. When Trump says, I'm going to leave it to the states, this is what leave it to the states means. It
Yeah.
means we are letting states like South Carolina and Texas literally torture women. We're
Yeah.
allowing states like Georgia to just disband maternal health committees when Black women are dying unconscionable deaths in Georgia. That's what leave it to the state means. It means all these horrible things that you think only are like dystopian things that you read about in, like, that you watch on The
Yeah.
Handmaid's Tale and Hulu. They're actually already
Hmm.
starting to happen. That's
Yeah.
what, so tying it all the way back for us, this is what we say to voters, like, it's already happening,
Yeah.
and you have the power to
I
stop it.
Yeah. I would love, but you guys should do I would love an ad campaign that's like, here's what leave it to the states looks like. Like, let's actually take a look
Noted.
at what that
We're
means.
on
I
it.
mean, really, like,
Yeah.
it's like, what, like,
But the flip
okay.
side of it is true too, because another selfish plug for my podcast, my first guest is Governor JB Pritzker. But, the flip, so leave it to the states, this is what it means. But if you're lucky enough to be in a state with a pro reproductive freedom champion, this is what your life
Yes.
should look like, which is why we've got to win back the White House and Congress. There are
Yeah.
Democrats doing good things that are fixing it. Wouldn't you want that? Don't you want that for the whole country? Don't you
Yeah.
want that in your state? So to me, it's like we can show and not tell
Yeah.
that this is what happens when you elect reproductive champions. And we can
Yeah. No,
show
I
what
love
leave it
that.
to the states means. You're
Yeah.
just abandoning all these women and people to these horrible nightmares.
Really true. JR wants to know, are you working with Virginia, or I guess is Virginia working to have prescriptions anonymous, which I assume is anyone working on a shield law in Virginia to allow abortion providers to keep their names off of prescription labels? I
I
don't,
know there's conversations happening in
is
Virginia
there?
about looking into shield laws. I don't know,
Okay.
but without the majorities and without a Democratic governor and AG, I think those are all the shield law conversations are happening with
Yeah.
Democrats in all the states, to be clear.
Yeah.
I think California's been able to go farther and faster because they have a trifecta and because
Right.
they have all their constitutional officers
Right.
ready to litigate, right? You got Rob Bonta.
Yeah.
You don't just have Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
He's suing folks. He's enforcing. Same with New York. Same with Chicago. Like Illinois, I said Chicago,
Yeah.
Illinois. Same
Yeah.
with. But there's a lot of states that have some level of shield law on the books that don't go as far as
Mm,
California, and with the prescriber
right.
coverage with the provider on the prescription coverage. And
Yeah.
those conversations are happening, but we have to also have the right makeup in place to move the ball. So I
Yeah.
think in every state, I feel confident to say they're being looked at and examined because they're so effective and they've been, frankly, telemed, mifepristone, and telemed, that combo and shield laws are why abortion access has
Yeah.
gone up.
Yeah.
Abortion
The
rates have gone
abortion rate
up,
hasn't gone. Yeah.
which is the other thing that's making our opposition completely insane.
They're losing it. They are
They're
losing
losing it. And that's what these
because they're
attacks are
losing.
about.
Exactly. I mean, it is such a powerful message for us. I think, like, to be able to repeat again and again, they haven't reduced the abortion rate. They've just increased suffering, maternal death, infant death, right? Like, that is what the real life consequences of these bans are. And that's why they're trying to dismantle all of the maternal mortality committees. That's not a coincidence. They know what the consequences of these policies are.
They know, and we're winning. Again, we're winning more than we're losing. And
Mm,
that's why the opposition keeps trying to change the rules,
right.
right? They do it in terms of like how you pass a ballot measure, Florida, changing it from 50 to 60. The mifepristone is popular, so we're going to change the FDA rules. I mean, this is their
Hmm.
game.
Yeah.
But we're winning. And
Yeah.
because we're winning, they're rigging the system.
Yeah. Gracie wants to know, how can we learn more about the specific people slash orgs behind these state bills so that we can track legislative language and concepts that get exported from state to state? It's very astroturfy, and people appreciate seeing inauthenticity called out. I think that's a great question. As much as possible, I try to like link these bills to, most of the time they're coming from national anti-abortion organizations or, specific
Yeah.
players, like in Texas. They're coming from Jonathan Mitchell, right? And I do think it's really an important point, and it's important for people to know um, where they're coming from, and also for voters to know that, like, this is not your local state legislator coming up with like what they think is going to be best for the people in your community. This is an agenda that is being, created by like 20 old white guys in a
Yes.
room.
And being workshopped and being tested. And they're filing half these bills for future litigation, too. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole strategy. We have that strategy, too. But what they've done a better job of, and it helps when you have oodles and oodles of dark money behind you, is they've
Mm,
captured the courts. And they've captured a
yeah.
lot of these states that are extremely red, states where we've lost our ability to stop bad bills, like my home state of Texas. The gerrymandering happened decades ago. Like
Right.
we've like lost most of the fight.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean in the state legislature, I'm not even talking about the congressional.
Yeah.
So we've seen voter suppression. This is why democracy and reproductive freedom are interchangeable and intertwined. They will use all the
Yeah.
tools to undermine public opinion. But
Yeah.
to the point, that the point the viewer made, it's 100% not an accident. It's all coming from a master plan.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I'm obsessed with, I don't know if it was your polling or someone else's polling. The fact that we know that anti-abortion groups are, incredibly unpopular, but also that people largely don't know who they are. There is not
Sure.
like a big narrative behind them, right? Like there's no like Cecile Richards of the anti-abortion movement. There's no like central one or two people that people broadly know about.
No.
And it is this huge opportunity for the pro-choice movement to paint a picture for voters, to, to show them those bad actors, to you understand what I'm saying? Like there is this opportunity to create that narrative. And in our case, it would be accurate and not
Uh,
misinformation. But there is, people don't like them.
We
Even
we
anti-abortion voters don't like them.
we've talked about this a little bit. Like we are trying to think it's we are working on content that really explains who these folks are and connects the dots, going back to the Charlie Day of it all. Like
Yes,
like the dark money here, connect like the judges, the Josh Hawley, his wife,
exactly.
his friends who he appointed to the court,
Crazy.
all against the will of his own state. I mean, there's so much to say about Susan B. Anthony List, Students for Choice.
Yes.
We know their names, we know who they are. I think the challenge is the focus needs to be though on decredentialing them with the folks who they prop up. And what do I
Yep.
mean by that? Like we have to make them toxic for the candidates to take their endorsements. And
Yes.
honestly, we've sort of succeeded in this
Yep.
because that's why somebody said it in the chat, they are making deals with them outside, behind closed doors.
Yeah.
They don't even wanna be
Right.
seen with them, right? I don't think Marjorie Dansfeller spoke at the Republican convention. They didn't have an
Right.
abortion night. They didn't have an abortion section. We did. Like, they don't wanna be seen with them because they know it's a losing proposition. But I don't want us to get too complacent. Not that anyone on this
Of course.
live stream would, because
Yeah.
the dark money is important. It fuels them. And it means that they're always popular. They don't actually have to have activists. They don't have to have grassroots. They don't have to have
Yeah.
low dollar donors. They don't have to have abortion fund type grassroots charitable organizations because they're getting funded by like a small group of very evil men.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly right. And I think people are starting to understand that more. I hope. I think people, an even broader audience, needs to get that. But I think you're right that they are really seen as toxic. And you can even see it in the language, like the language change up, right? That they're so desperate to say, I don't support a ban. I don't support a national abortion ban. Uh, I, I mean, they're calling themselves pro-choice. Like really and truly, they're calling themselves pro-choice. Like the minute I knew that they lost the messaging war was when I saw someone, and it might have been in Virginia, say, "Oh, I have a plan to keep abortion legal for the first 12 weeks," when they were talking about a 12-week abortion ban.
Yes,
Plan to
yes.
keep abortion legal? Are you fucking nuts? Like, that's how
They
badly they know they're losing.
They know they're losing, but they're still, undeterred. So, for example, they made
Yes.
announcements recently, SBA listed, that they're making major investments next year in Georgia and Michigan,
Yep.
specifically targeting, John Ossoff and the open Senate seat that we have. And they announced, I think $4 million spends for each state. And I had friends who are political consultants say that they're bluffing, right? I'm like, no, they probably have it. Because they're not raising money like
Yeah.
we raise money.
Yeah.
They don't follow rules. They ended Citizens United. They've got the ability to just grab cash and dump it.
Right.
We have to be
It's
ready for
crazy.
that. It is
It's
crazy.
a really good point.
So
It's a really good point.
they're the majority, and this is the question I keep getting. Um,
Mm.
if we're so popular, if 8 of 10 Americans are with us, and
Yeah.
the majority of Americans, including
Yeah.
Republicans, support reproductive freedom, why are we losing? Well, that's why. And that's why it's so important to keep reminding folks. It's not a fair and square fight.
Yeah, they're
And
cheating.
we got to keep reminding people, like in the age of Donald Trump right now, like we're watching it in plain sight. They're
Hmm.
trying to rig the game. They know they're going to lose the midterms. They're trying
Yeah.
to steal the seats. This is what they've been doing all along, but much more quietly. So
Yeah.
there's got to be a lesson in this for all of us. Like the people are mightier, but
Yeah.
we've got to be united and we have to be consistent and we have to be talking to our friends and family. And at this
I love
point,
that.
it's only going to be social justice and civic engagement and movement work that's going to actually help us defend our democracy.
Right. No, I think that's So important. There's one last question. We kept you a
Yeah.
little bit over. I usually
Okay.
pride myself on ending on time. Andrea asked, I'm always asking and trying to see what we can do from home, apart from staying informed, spreading words, calling legislators. Like what next? What should we be doing? What are you telling
Yeah.
to
So
take action on?
so we'd love for you to join us and consider doing texts and phone calls and, be part of our digital team anywhere in the country. You could join us in reaching voters in Virginia, in New Jersey.
Oh, we may have lost you. Oh no. Can you hear me? Your sound cut out. Did my sound cut out too?
No, I think it was just me.
Okay.
So
Well, you
I'll
have to give your whole very inspiring spiel again. I'm sorry.
You can join us from any place in the country and reach voters in
Yeah.
Virginia, in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
in New Jersey, in California. Anna's going to give me the number.
It's 59791.
Mm,
Text repro to
okay.
59791 to join our team. We promise not to overburden you with junk, but you can join our texting team, our digital team. Don't even have to leave your house. If you want to leave your house because you think it's fun to be in community with other people in real life, we have so many opportunities for you to join us in one of those 4 states in the coming weeks. We're going to have lots of events, lots of
Amazing.
organizing. You can even just get on a Zoom and do texting in a group with other people so you feel like
Perfect.
you're at a Zoom party. If you want the company, we would love to provide it to you.
I love it. And I'll make sure for folks who are watching, when I send this whole video out to the whole list, I'll make sure to put all of that info in the email so that you can see it. You don't need to write it down now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on again. You're our first repeat guest. First, second guest.
I
Very
feel really
exciting.
honored.
You're the best. It's always a pleasure to have you on, and to
Oh,
come back
well,
on.
listen,
And
we do this all together. Thank you for breaking so much news. You don't always get credited when your stuff goes to the
that's
mainstream.
okay.
I mean, it's really not. It's a whole other conversation, but
That is
like
a whole other conversation.
you are breaking you are breaking so much news. You are keeping us informed. Even those of us who do this full time are like, oh my God, I learned this from Jessica.
Thank you.
It's so important. It's so important. And we are so grateful.
Well, we are so grateful for you and everything that you're doing, and I can't wait to have you back on and talk more and chat more. And thank you to everyone for joining and watching and supporting the newsletter and supporting this work and caring about this work. I know things are so rough right now, but it really does. Doing things like this and having these conversations make me feel so much better, make me feel so energized, and I hope it does the same for you all as well. I will talk to you all soon, and Minnie, we will stay and chat some more.
Good to see everybody. Thanks, Jessica.
Good night.